Imagine spending months building defensive positions, moving ammunition into bunkers, and preparing thousands of troops for the next offensive, only to watch all of it disappear beneath a wall of water. That's exactly the nightmare Russia may now be facing after a dramatic Ukrainian strike reportedly damaged a dam inside Russia's Belgorod region. At first glance, it looked like just another drone attack, but military analysts quickly realized this wasn't about destroying concrete. It was about weaponizing geography, because once that barrier was breached, the flood didn't simply wash away water. It threatened roads, military logistics, repair crews, and possibly even Russia's plans for future operations near Ukraine's northeastern border. And if that's true, this could become one of the smartest battlefield engineering attacks of the entire war. Wars are usually remembered for tanks, missiles, and fighter jets, but sometimes, water becomes the most powerful weapon on the battlefield. According to reports from Russian regional sources, Ukrainian drones struck infrastructure connected to the Belgorod reservoir, damaging part of the dam system and allowing large amounts of water to escape downstream. The physical destruction itself wasn't enormous, but the consequences spread far beyond the damaged concrete. Within hours, water levels downstream began rising rapidly. Low-lying areas started flooding. Road access became increasingly difficult. Emergency crews were reportedly deployed. And perhaps most importantly, repair work became incredibly dangerous because drones allegedly continued flying over the area, threatening anyone attempting to restore the damaged structure. That changed everything. Instead of one successful strike, Ukraine may have created an ongoing military problem. At first, the decision seems strange. Why target water infrastructure instead of tanks or ammunition depots? The answer lies in military logistics. Modern armies don't simply fight, they move. Every offensive depends on roads, bridges, supply trucks, engineering units, fuel deliveries, medical evacuations. If just one critical transportation corridor becomes unusable, everything behind it begins slowing down. Flooded roads mean heavier vehicles cannot pass, bridges become unsafe, recovery equipment gets delayed, engineers spend valuable time solving infrastructure problems instead of supporting combat operations. Sometimes, stopping an army is more effective than destroying one. One of the least understood aspects of modern warfare isn't firepower, it's terrain. Military commanders spend enormous amounts of time studying rivers, forests, hills, and weather patterns, because nature often decides battles long before soldiers even arrive. A flooded river can stop armored vehicles, soft ground traps tanks. Destroyed roads force convoys into predictable routes where drones can easily find them. Ukraine has repeatedly shown throughout this war that it understands this concept extremely well. Rather than matching Russia shell for shell, it increasingly targets the systems that allow Russia to fight. Fuel, railways, bridges, command centers, air defenses, and now, potentially, water infrastructure. The Belgorod region has become one of the most strategically important locations in the entire conflict. Why? Because it's incredibly close to Ukraine. For years, Russian forces have used Belgorod as a staging area. Troops assemble there, equipment arrives there, ammunition is stored there. Drone launchers have been linked to the region. Missile systems operate nearby. Military logistics constantly flow through Belgorod before crossing toward the front. That means any disruption inside Belgorod creates problems far beyond the immediate area. A flooded road in Russia can delay supplies reaching soldiers fighting dozens of miles away. That's why infrastructure matters. Unlike missiles, floodwater doesn't choose targets. Once released, it simply follows gravity. That creates both opportunity and risk. Flooding can isolate military positions, damage equipment, wash away temporary bridges, slow reinforcements, but it can also threaten civilian homes, farms, and transportation. That's why attacks involving dams remain among the most controversial military operations. Supporters argue infrastructure with military value becomes a legitimate target. Critics warn civilians often pay the highest price. In modern warfare, those two realities often exist at the same time. Over the past 2 years, Ukraine has increasingly embraced asymmetric warfare. Instead of competing with Russia's larger military directly, it focuses on creating expensive problems. One successful drone costing only thousands of dollars can force Russia to spend millions on repairs, security upgrades, engineering equipment, and additional air defenses. It's an economic battle as much as a military one. Every destroyed bridge, every damaged refinery, every interrupted railway, every flooded road forces Russia to spend more resources defending territory far behind the front lines. That's exactly the kind of pressure Ukraine wants. Dam repairs aren't like fixing ordinary roads. Heavy machinery must reach the breach. Engineers need uninterrupted access. Concrete work often takes days or weeks. Water pressure constantly works against repair efforts. And if drones continue appearing overhead, every repair crew becomes another potential target. Even temporary fixes become dangerous. That means the real objective may not have been creating one flood. It may have been forcing Russia into a prolonged engineering battle, one that drains manpower, equipment, time, and attention. Military victories aren't measured only in territory. They're measured in confidence. Imagine living in a border region where explosions have become routine. Air raid sirens interrupt daily life. Roads close unexpectedly. Drone attacks happen overnight. Now imagine adding flood warnings to that list. Even if the physical damage is limited, the psychological effect can be enormous. Residents begin asking difficult questions. Is anywhere safe? Can authorities protect critical infrastructure? How long will this continue? Psychological pressure has become one of the defining features of modern warfare. Now Moscow faces a dilemma: repair the dam immediately and risk additional strikes, delay repairs, and allow flooding to continue affecting infrastructure, move more air defenses into Belgorod, and weaken protection somewhere else, send engineering troops, or keep them supporting frontline operations. Every option carries a cost. That's exactly what Ukraine often tries to achieve. Not necessarily overwhelming destruction, but forcing impossible choices. Military analysts are now watching for three major developments. First, can Russia fully restore the damaged infrastructure before additional strikes occur? Second, will changing water levels affect nearby military logistics in the coming weeks? And finally, was this an isolated attack, or the beginning of a broader campaign targeting infrastructure inside Russia? If it's the latter, the implications could stretch far beyond Belgorod, because infrastructure isn't easy to replace, and every damaged bridge, every flooded road, every disrupted supply route adds friction to an already exhausting war. Wars evolve. Early in this conflict, success was measured by captured cities and advancing armored columns. Today, success is increasingly measured by something less visible: supply chains, engineering, infrastructure, logistics. The reported strike on the Belgorod Dam demonstrates how modern warfare is no longer just about destroying enemy forces. It's about disrupting the systems that keep those forces moving. Whether this operation ultimately changes the battlefield remains to be seen. But one thing is already clear: the war has entered an era where drones can reshape rivers, infrastructure has become a front line, and sometimes, the most dangerous weapon isn't a missile, it's the water released after one perfectly timed strike. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We break down the strategy behind today's biggest military developments with clear analysis, historical context, and the battlefield details that often go unnoticed. Until next time, thanks for watching.